What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, checking out the Finch Halo, which is a medium-ish size flipper from Finch, and available in two colors. This is the redhead, and then they also have the military blue. Both are G10 scales with a black coated blade. And so black coated blades for me are a little bit hit or miss. In this case, I like it. I really appreciate that they match the hardware, the pocket clip and liners, everything like that. So that's definitely a nice touch. And then I just think it contrasts really well with the red or the blue if you go with that one, and really makes the color pop and stand out a little bit more. So I like it on this knife, but it can be hit and miss for me. Now, this one will land you price-wise right at $105, and so that's the lower end of the Finch range. They have a pretty tight range though. It doesn't get too expensive, so anywhere between $100 and $200. This was the most budget-friendly up until last week when they released the new model, the Shiv, and that one's $79. So really good price on that. I'm thinking about picking it up and think it's a really good looking knife. Now, you are losing the shield, which I think is a first for Finch. And I really like the shield. It's not too big a deal. I'm still considering picking that one up. It's just more of an aesthetic thing. But I like the shield. It's kind of a nod to traditional knives, and you'll see that a lot with Finch designs. They take a lot of design cues from traditional knives, so like my last video on a Finch was the buffalo tooth. That's based on a traditional pattern. Obviously it's a flipper and a locking knife, but really immediately recognizable as a traditional pattern. You'll also see handle materials. In this case it's G10, so a modern material, but they have some with blue Caribbean jig bone or mother of pearl or ironwood, which are all materials that you don't typically see on modern locking knives. So I really like that about Finch. And while we're on the topic actually of that shield, it is a glow in the dark one in this case. I don't think all of them are. This one glows in the dark. Hopefully you'll be able to see that under UV, but have it too lit up where you probably won't be able to see it continue to glow after I get the UV off of it. It does take a charge nicely and glow really brightly in the dark though. Now I mentioned medium size, 7.125 inches, which is right in my sweet spot in terms of an EDC knife. That does get you a 4-inch handle, which I'm able to get a full, comfortable 4-finger grip on. You can see my pinky's getting a little close to the end there. So if you have extra large hands, you may hang off a little bit. You can choke up onto that flipper tab. It's jimped and can choke up on there a little bit. I haven't really felt myself needing to, although it feels pretty good. I tend to use that as more of a finger guard and stay back here. It's well balanced. Sometimes you'll end up a little bit too far back. In this case for me, it's really comfortable ergonomically, no hot spots whatsoever. You can see the scales are kind of a 90-degree edge, but they don't feel super sharp. I think it's because the liners are tucked in and what you're feeling is the G10, so you don't have a sharp edge here. Really comfortable to use over long periods of time. I have used this one decently extensively, I guess, and so I've only had it about a month, but have done a lot of cutting with it. I cleaned it up before the video. You can see some minor scratches on that coating, nothing that's made it down to the blade material itself, and so no like silver showing through or anything like that. So that does seem to be pretty durable. Now, in terms of ergos, also do want to mention there is no jimping on the spine, and I kind of miss it in this case. I do feel pretty locked in, especially when you kind of choke up. You can get really locked in, but wouldn't have minded seeing a little bit of jimping just at the base of that spine. The blade length on here is 3.125 inches. You're working with a 14C 28N blade. Flat grind on there, clip point style blade is what they're calling it, although it's kind of a mold between, or a morph between a clip point and a drop point, but could see it being called either one. Now, cutting surface on there is 2.875 inches. You do have a small sharpening choil. And as far as the billboarding goes on this knife, I like what they've done. It's pretty minimal. You can see the Finch is tucked right here next to the pivot. I definitely prefer that placement over right across the face of the blade. And then the shield I wouldn't really count as billboarding, because for me that's a design aspect that I appreciate and like, and so even though it's got their logo, it's not something where I'm thinking, oh, that's billboarding. I like the addition of the shield. Has that cursive F in there, it looks really good. Also, you can see the pivot is non-tooled on the show side, which is another nice touch. You do have two T6 body screws on this side. When you flip it over to the back, the Text has been shrunken down. The model name Halo and 14C28N is stamped in the same spot, so tucked away nicely, don't mind that too much. And then obviously you do have the tooled pivot on this side, which is a T8 with T6 body screws. I would always love to see that match up, T8 across the board, but pretty common to see that smaller T6 there. And the truth is, I'm not disassembling my knives that much. If I'm switching out, the scales or really need to clean it, I will disassemble them, but pretty minor in terms of the things that I look for. But always appreciate when they're equal size. That T8 obviously would prefer T8, not T6, if they're going to be equal size. But pocket clip here is a good pocket clip. I don't know the material on it. I know on the Shiv they have a titanium pocket clip, so this may be the same. The Shiv is a little bit cheaper, so maybe the same, maybe steel. But either way, I like it design-wise. It's nice and stout, looks good, relatively deep carry. Not fully deep carry. You're going to have a little bit over maybe 1/4 of an inch exposed, but I don't mind that too much. Now, it is not reversible, so you see there's no place to put it on for a left-hand carry, so going to be right-hand tip up only. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but is a good pocket clip overall. You don't feel it at all in your hand. Really comfortable user. Weight-wise, we're looking at 2.9 ounces, so definitely meets that weight to blade length ratio. And overall, it's just a comfy knife. I enjoy using it. It's just one that, for whatever reason, I keep reaching for when I need to cut stuff. And so that's obviously a big endorsement for it. Now, aesthetically, I think the buffalo tooth definitely spoke to me a little bit more. I just love the way that one looked. This one I think is a good looking knife, especially just that contrast, like I said. So that was kind of a smart choice for me to make that blade black, because I do think the handles really like pop out and it's a comfortable to use and decent to look at, but not one that just screams at me like I absolutely love the design of this knife, but it's good looking knife that's really usable, and so that's probably more important in this case. But overall, really happy with this at that $105 price point. It is made in China, so that's bringing that price down a little bit. Designed in Kansas. I actually don't think I mentioned this, but this was sent over by Spencer at Finch for me to check out. I had met him at Blade Show, sent this as well as the buffalo tooth over. No obligation, didn't ask for a video or anything. Of course, he knew I had a YouTube channel, so he probably knew I'd make a video on it, but I've had it for a month. They haven't asked about it or anything like that, just kind of behind on videos, and so no obligation there. I'm not affiliated with Finch at all, so the link in the description most likely will not be an affiliate link unless it's sold at the same price from a retailer that I'm affiliated with, but I know these sell for the same price from dealers as they do from Finch directly at that $105 price point. So just wanted to kind of disclose that before we wrap up. But let me know what you think of this knife. If you picked up the Shiv, what your thoughts on. I think they're probably landing by now. I want to say it released last Friday, and so by the time this video goes live, I think those are probably landing. So would love to hear thoughts on that. Definitely considering picking it up, but also really want to get some of those more traditional handle materials. So those aren't available on the Shiv, so may go that route first and then pick up the Shiv a little bit later on. But thanks for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you enjoyed the video. Definitely helps the algorithm out, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.